Hello everybody. I just wanted to send you guys a quick message. I'm not going to be able to hold live class today on Thursday the 10th, and that is because I'm being visited by some folks from the Chad Zuckerberg Initiative. We're doing some pretty cool things with AI and e-cadence and online learning, so they wanted to take a day to talk to me and visit some of my classes. So this is going to have to do. If I was going to be with you today, what we would be doing is we'd be in breakout rooms and we'd be reviewing the 4 documents from the Valley Forge DBQ. And that is central to the idea. If you were there, if you were one of those poor souls in the picture, would you have quit? That's what it's all about. Now, that's what our objectives. We wanted you to understand the conditions, and then next week you're going to be writing a formal essay, but this week you're just going to be participating in a short discussion with your opinions about quitting or staying. So the first thing you had to do is you had to read the background essay. In the background essay, there's a phrase that really shows you about the enthusiasm of this war. And it's from Washington's chief engineer, and he says there's 100 times more enthusiasm for this revolution in Paris than there is in all of the United States together. Now, this one might be tough for some of you to wrap your head around, but if I was going to ask you this question, who is more into this revolution, the Americans or the French? Yeah. I took a little beat to have you think about that, and you probably responded the French. The French were very happy to see their arch enemy having trouble with one of their colonies, and they were waiting for the Americans to show some possibility of winning before they jump in and help the Americans. But right now, they're really happy to see the Americans fight the British, not because of their support of the Americans, but just because of their hatred of the British. Now, you're also going to have to understand the question in the sense that we're not asking you to desert the Army. Now, the premise of this activity is that most of the people at Valley Forge were reaching the 9-month moment where they could either re-enlist or not re-enlist. So that's really what this question is about. Because if you quit the Army or you desert the Army, you can be killed for AWOL, go absent without leave. Even to this day, you're not allowed to do that. But so back in the day, it was also true. So we're talking about you have the opportunity to re-enlist or not re-enlist. So it's about whether you're going to stay and re-enlist or not re-enlist and go. That's really what we're trying to figure out. And the 4 documents were there to help you make this decision. The first document is a casualty list, and if you look closely at this document, you're going to see that 15% of the soldiers at Valley Forge died and 85% were surviving. Now, somebody might think, hey, that's pretty good. 85% survival rate in a war, that's good, I'm going to stay. But here's the thing that some people don't understand, is that these soldiers were not fighting the British, they were just fighting the elements and just trying to stay alive so that they would be able to fight when the snow melts in the spring. So for others, 50% death rate is not worth it, and they're out of here. So again, this document could be used to stay or to go. The second document also has some different interpretations. At a close look at this document, you're going to see George Washington in the center. You're going to see the committee of correspondence to his immediate right, and then you're going to see some soldiers. And even the soldiers, if you look closely, you'll notice they might be missing toes. You look closely, you see that they have no shoes on, right? No boots. But still, they want to fight. And if you look to the right of Washington, you'll notice that there's a guy taking notes, but he's sitting on a dead horse. And somebody might say, well, if it's so cold that a horse would die, well, that's going to kill me too, so I'm going to leave. But again, if you look a little deeper, Washington is showing the committee of the Congress how powerful and how much these guys want to fight. However, he's also showing them that they don't have the supplies that they need to fight. So one could argue that this means help is on the way. Now, document C is the diary of Dr. Albigence Waldo. He's a doctor, he's a surgeon, he's at Valley Forge. So one might argue that, hey, they had doctors, so they're going to help us stay healthy. But he also talked about the huts that the soldiers had to live in, and how they were freezing, and how that he could see through the clothing that was so, like the stockings, people were shivering and they were miserable. But at the same time, he talks about the spirits of the men, and he talks about the spirit of alacrity. Alacrity is the cheerful willingness. These guys wanted to fight. They were just living through some pretty bad times. Now, Thomas Paine, you might recall from Common Sense, his influential pamphlet. George Washington brought his essays back and had some of his essays read to the troops at Valley Forge. And one of Thomas Paine's most famous sayings is that these are the times that try men's soul. Right? And it's during these difficult times at Valley Forge that a person will find out what they're made of. He also kind of throws a little bit of shade on the people that were quitting. He calls them sunshine patriots, that they're only willing to fight when the fighting is good, but when it gets tough, they're going to quit. He also talks about tyranny. A fate worse than death is to be controlled by the king. But the one I think is probably most powerful is his phrase, what we obtain too cheap, we esteem too lightly. That means we got to fight for our freedom because it's that important. And if we're just given freedom, we're not going to appreciate it, but it's through this battle, it's through this struggle that not only will we earn our freedom, but we will try our hardest to make sure we keep our freedom moving forward with the United States of America. So the question becomes, are you a sunshine patriot or a summer soldier? Are you going to stay or are you going to go? Now this week, you're just going to do the documents and participate in the discussion. And next week, we get to write a formal DBQ essay. Yay! Said nobody ever. But you got to trust me, I'm going to help you get through this one as well. Just like the soldiers at Valley Forge survived, so too will you, your first formal DBQ at CVA. Have an awesome day. Hopefully I'll see you on the flip side next week.